I'm Ben Meiselas, joined by Michael Cohen. Cohen, of course, the big news we reported here on MeidasTouch Network that Donald Trump was too cowardly to show up for the deposition that you had noticed. It was scheduled for October 9th. It was delayed multiple times because Donald Trump kept on coming up with various excuses. Finally, the judge said, in the case where Donald Trump sued you, the judge was like, come hell or high water, this is going October 9th after Donald Trump represented he was going to be at the New York Attorney General civil fraud case every single day for the first week. He lasted 2.5 days. I had told you, I said, I don't think there's any way he's showing up for that deposition. I thought he was too cowardly. He didn't. Instead, he filed a notice to voluntarily dismiss without prejudice the $500 million lawsuit he filed against you. You are now speaking to us here at the MeidasTouch Network, to the Beatdown Brigade, before speaking anywhere else about your response to this. Are you going to be seeking sanctions? What is your next move, Michael Cohen?
Yeah, look, so yesterday I was sitting watching television. I get a phone call from my lawyer, from Danya Perry and Lillian Timmerman. They're like, you're not going to believe this. Trump's folks, meaning Alejandro Brito, his counsel, just filed the order for dismissal. And as you stated, without prejudice, meaning that they can bring it back down the road. They're not going to, but they did preserve that right. And the way that the system works, especially there in Florida, if you file this order prior to summary judgment decision by the judge, then you can do it without. It makes no difference to me, whatever the guy wants to do, knock himself out. But as it stands right now, I spent today a couple hours on the phone with my counsel, and we are examining right now various different causes of action within which that we feel justified in bringing to the same court that it was just dismissed from, because that judge would have he would have the ability to hear this collateral case. Right now, we're just, again, we want to make sure that everything that we do, you see, unlike Trump, my attorneys are really the A-team, and they're not going to do anything unless it's exactly right, that it's perfect, and that, you know, there's a basis for which to bring the claim, not like this sort of nonsensical claim. But we are looking at a multitude of causes of actions within which to bring against him, to hold him accountable for filing this frivolous, harassing litigation. You know, I mean, it's just who he is. He's just a vexatious litigant, and accountability needs to be had.
So after Donald Trump dismissed without prejudice this $500 million federal lawsuit that he filed against you, and I know from speaking to you, the angst, the emotional drain, the effort that this engulfed you in, his harassing conduct since he filed this back in April, used it as a way to fundraise, used it as a way to try to threaten and intimidate you in
Not
other
just
matters.
Me and others. You know, basically what he was doing was he was sending a message that if in fact that you choose to go against me, then I'll file a $500 million lawsuit against you as well. And, you know, a lot of people would turn around and say, come on, this case, it has no merit to it, it's frivolous, and so on. I want to be very clear. Anybody who's ever been served with a lawsuit understands to some extent the angst and the emotional and physical drain that it takes on you, even if you know that you're right, because the system doesn't always work. That we know for a fact. But what if the plaintiff in that case is not just average Joe or Jane? All right. What if the plaintiff happens to be the former president of the United States, who happens to also be a billionaire, and at this point in time is seeking $500 million. Now, I never expected, and I couldn't, even if in fact that, that they got a $500 million judgment, I could obviously never pay that. But even if it was multiple millions of dollars, even if it was $1 million, this is not acceptable. This is not something that I would be able to sustain at this time in my life. And so the angst that it gives to you, the emotional again and physical drain that's on you, considering you are spending an inordinate amount of time with counsel preparing for every single response and for every single motion and for every single hearing that you're going to be going before the court, because you have so much to lose here. Remember, as the defendant, you're always on the defense, as opposed to the plaintiff who's on the offense. So the worst thing that ever happens to a plaintiff when they lose the case, unlike the system that they have in Europe where you can get all your fees covered, in America, the plaintiff loses, okay, that's it. He's out. Whatever his legal fees are or whatever his the cost to file the action and to serve it, that's it. So it's a couple of $1,000, exclusive, of course, of his legal fees. The defendant has everything to lose, especially in a case, again, where a former president of the United States who still has significant power within that GOP, imagine they're suing you for $500 million.
And there are ways, though, and this is what you and your lawyers are evaluating right now, which you're breaking the news first here on the MeidasTouch Network to the Beatdown Brigaders. You are looking into various claims and causes of action based on the fact that Donald Trump's behavior in this case was so frivolous, so malicious, so vexatious that the usual situation that happens in a case like this, where if the plaintiff or a party loses, they just basically, there's really not a lot of accountability. Maybe it's costs plus some attorney's fees. But what you're looking into is, and you know that these judges in the court where Donald Trump decided to bring the case in this court, they now have the institutional knowledge of his behavior. So you're looking into the causes of action that you could potentially bring in this court where these proceedings have taken place, where Donald Trump has already made numerous misrepresentations, where Donald Trump has lied. And the ultimate irony of that as well, and I want to make sure I'm getting it correct there, is while Donald Trump tried to hide and not have his deposition taken, if you bring another action, you can get that deposition taken and promptly.
Yeah. Well, we will continue to try to push. If it does go to that, we will continue to try and push to get the court-ordered deposition the same way that we were supposed to have it on Monday, on October 9th.
Well, we will keep everybody updated, and I appreciate you breaking that news here first, Cohen, that you are looking into. Is there a complaint, a causes of action that could be brought against Donald Trump for what he did to you here? We will keep you updated, of course, on the MeidasTouch Network. Hit subscribe to our YouTube channel. Make sure you check out Michael Cohen and my Patreon account at patreon.com/politicalbeatdown. It has a lot of exclusive features, including once a month, you can meet Michael Cohen on our exclusive Zoom chats there. It's patreon.com/politicalbeatdown. We'll see you next time on the MeidasTouch Network.
Hey, Meidas Mighty. Love this report? Continue the conversation by following us on Instagram @MeidasTouch to keep up with the most important news of the day. What are you waiting for? Follow us now.